podcast on this Monday evening. With me, as always, we have my co-host, Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening, everyone.
And tonight, our special guest, Galina Rin.
Hello.
Hello. So, Galina, we usually do the whole, in fact, no, because it seems that myself and Galina probably know each other. This, had no idea. We went to the same places when we grew up. But for all those people who probably didn't go to the venue in Belfast circa 1995, who are you? What do you do? What's your thing?
My name is Galina Rin. I am the one human in the band Death and Gloria. I have an AI companion, and I create rock music, comic art, and animations about the end of humanity. That's right. Not one human gets out of any of my sci-fi stories, and then we respawn, and start again for the next album.
So it's just you then? You just create everything?
And that's a lot to do. I mean, that's just like the artwork, the music. How do you find the time to do all that?
It takes me years and years to do anime. So basically, I don't do every single part myself because that would just be mad, and I'm really not that skilled. So I animate it. I write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
I was going to say the same thing.
So what do I do? So I come up with the concept, I do the story, I do the music, I produce the music, I record the music. I do have session guys that I bring in because I can't play drums, all that kind of stuff. I have a mixing engineer because you shouldn't mix and master your own creations because that's just bad juju. And I don't draw the comics, but I do animate them and I design them for the illustrator. I also have a script writer who is my mother because she used to write for 2000 AD back in the 80s.
Oh,
so
okay. What did she write?
She
I'm a massive 2000 AD fan.
Oh, that's cool. She wrote Medivac, 318. Oh, I've got it wrong. 318. Medivac 318. Zippy Couriers, and she did a number of Judge Dredd's in circa in 88, nice. 87 to 90, I think. And
okay,
Nigel Dobbin was her illustrator. So Nigel Dobbin became my illustrator, and then unfortunately he died 2020, I want to say.
Has your mother ever been to the Lawless Comic Convention in the UK? It's basically all about, started out purely as being about 2000 AD comic, then kind of expanded out to British comics.
No, because she used to go to comic, right? So when I was a small child, I would go to Comic Cons with my mom. And nice. I don't ever remember her being booed, but she tells me that she was quite often booed, and Nigel would have to stand up for her because she was the first woman to ever write for 2000 AD. I think there's only been two. I could be wrong. But she was the first one, and people just didn't like her. She wasn't violent enough because she believed that her characters should go through the wars but without looking as if they go through the wars, so they were more mentally challenged, mentally destroyed, rather than blood, guts, and arms everywhere. So 14-year-old boys weren't into it, so she got booed an awful lot. And it was the 80s, 90s. Yeah, we're not. I mean, we're far more accepting nowadays in some parts.
Yeah, no, I'm really shocked at that. I mean, wow, it's just fucking awful.
Yeah, well, but she's a great woman, and she fights through a lot of stuff of that era. So she was one of the first female sci-fi writers, and that's.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about I would be a sci-fi writer when I was a kid. I just find it really embarrassing that my mom was, going to cons and my parents were battle reenactors and they'd go off.
Really?
Yeah. So during the 12th, in Northern Ireland, we have the silly season. I don't know about it now, but back then, the 12th of July, there'd be riots and there'd be all sorts of stuff. And my parents would always go to Tewkesbury and reenact the battle, War of the Roses, I think.
Yeah, War of the Roses. Yeah, big. Apparently one of the bloodiest battles in English history, Tewkesbury.
Tewkesbury, yeah. Well, yeah. So the reenactment there is massive, and if you ever get the chance, you should go. It's just huge. But so they used to go to that, and I always was really embarrassed by the whole thing, and just wanted to stay at home and do what teenagers do when their parents are away.
Sounds awesome.
But now I appreciate it as an adult. I'm like, yeah, writing sci-fi is great, and like going to conventions is great, and oh yeah. And that's what I do
I
now.
bet you they told you they were cool at the back and then. You're like, you're not cool, mum and dad, and then you realize begrudgingly that maybe they were cool. And
yeah, I mean that's true. My dad made model soldiers. He had his own company making like actual, like armies, like historical armies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm very into my Napoleonics and stuff, so I've got a lot of sort of warlords, Napoleonic stuff, epic Napoleonics things. Because really like my historical war games and stuff.
Yeah, so now that he's retired, I think my dad just does battleships. I think he just still trains ships. But that's it. Yeah. So anyway, I thought they were really uncool when I was, a kid. But actually, it's fashionable now to be into all of those things, and we were the coolest family in the street. Like I grew up around axes and longbows and armor and soldiers and comics and all that.
See, my dad was really into his history, but he, my mum wasn't really, and we did, as much as he was like, we watched history documentaries and stuff like that. I wasn't subjected. So he was into computer games. He's into computers and stuff, but we didn't have like the super geek sort of kind of foundation. Like there wasn't axes and swords and stuff flying around the house, which I think I would have loved. I mean, like the suits of armor and stuff. That would have been amazing. Just for me, especially as a teenager, because like I didn't become sort of like, I was just happy to do nerdy stuff with my friends until pretty late on and stuff. I don't think it is, and we had a brief conversation about this before the podcast. I don't think it was until I went to the venue when I was 16, I think, possibly 16 or 17, that things started to change. But apart from that, I was happy enough just to do nerdy stuff and not think much of it. The venue changed me.
The venue changed everybody. I love a good curry and chips now. I can't get away from it. I mean, that's a deep dive. That's a deep dive joke, that one. But
do you remember the fact, right? So for all of you, myself and Galina obviously come from the same area. She's from Bangor. I'm from just outside Carrickfergus. But we went to the same heavy metal bar. Apparently at the same time. At the same time. There's a place called the Venue in Belfast, non-existent anymore. Got knocked down. I'm not sure what they turned it into, but flats, yeah. And because you had to for it to have a license to drink, you had to buy food. And so what they would do is you would go in, and so they could have their liquor license. You go in and you get this little sort of like chit. And it was for a burger or for some fries and stuff. So you paid your entrance and you got a little voucher, and that got you a burger or some chips or something like that. And then they could have their license for drinking and stuff. So technically, the venue was a restaurant. And
so when I first, because I think I went earlier than you went, and that just tells you how bad the place was, letting in teenagers. It's the only place to go in Belfast, but I think they only had a food license for downstairs, so you had to buy your drinks tokens on the ground floor and then take them up to upstairs, and it was like £1.50 for anything in the bar.
Oh, right.
And you got a food token, but you could only pay for stuff downstairs because they didn't have a license. Were you there the day they lost their dancing license?
No.
Right, that was funny. That was so funny, right? They basically had lost their dance license. So people weren't allowed to dance on the dance floor. So they cordoned off the dance floor. But obviously they need the place open because it was going to save them money. So we were all sat on the tables, all quite, behaving ourselves.
I do remember that.
And then by the end of the night, everyone was just like on top of the table.
Yes. I do. And actually, it just once you said they cordoned it off, I went, "Holy shit! Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. Fucking hell, man. Yeah, it was. We used to go like Friday nights, and then Saturday was obviously the cock rock night and stuff. Now and again, we go on the cock rock night and stuff, and you'd have this sort of kind of old rockers there like judging you, these kids running in here looking for hardcore and new metal and stuff like this, and they're like, "Whoa, that's not Black Sabbath, that's not Motley Crue."
Yeah, exactly right. The place was awesome. I mean, I'm gonna be playing Belfast with Death and Gloria for the first time ever. The first time I'll be playing Northern Ireland properly without, you know, like I was playing my own house because no one else would put me up. And they're playing Voodoo Lounge on the 9th of November.
Oh.
Or 10th of November.
Voodoo Lounge is that beside what? Because it's been a long time.
You're asking me. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know where it is. Never been, so I don't know.
Because
it used to be owned by Huey Morgan, didn't it?
No, that's the one in Dublin. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I've been to that one, but I don't know if the one in Belfast is the same.
It's been so long.
Maybe.
Like, even when I go home, I don't go into Belfast very often, like, because I live out in the sticks, so I just go back and see my family and then escape Northern Ireland again. But it used to be, because it had Katie Daly's and you had the Limelight, and then there was the one beside the but Katie Daly's. I think they changed that, and I'm not sure if that, or is Voodoo Lounge the one that was further up near Lavery's?
I think it's up near Lavery's, and it's not Limelight. I know that it's not beside the Limelight.
Yeah.
So when I play that show, I'm going to be saying, "Oh, it's so great to be back at Belfast. The last time I was here, I played the venue on a Thursday night. 5 people."
Well, man, we played the
20 years ago.
Oh God, yeah, we played the venue when my band was young and horribly bad. When our first iteration, like, we never changed our name, we just carried on, even though we were really bad at the start. We played there. So there's pictures of us looking very boy-faced and young and loving it, thinking we were going to be massive rock stars and, you know, this was all going to be the big thing. And I remember the guys. I remember, like, I think we were on. We played with, like, Serotonin, I think, and them sort of there was something about a Kerrang thing, and in my mind it was like, because it's going to be Kerrang, that's it. We're gonna be rich. We're gonna be rock and roll stars, and this is gonna be it. We're gonna take over the world. And here I am working in insurance and 41 years old, and the band, you know, just it's a thing we do in our spare time.
I think they got into Kerrang because they had a member of Cypress Hill produced one of their songs.
Yeah.
And he was in Down.
Yeah.
And he was straight edge. He was on like a sober kick when he came. They paid for him to come to Belfast and produce this, like, EP for them, and they got him so wasted on Guinness. And he went, when he got home, he was like back in touring with Down like 2 days later, and he set fire to an American flag in Texas and got arrested.
Oh God!
And the whole of Down and all of his family blamed Serotonin for getting him, falling him off the wagon.
Oh God, sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right. Oh my God, yeah. Do you remember a band called Shakedown that morphed into Shakedown? Were sort of kind of like a rap metal band.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, what was the guy?
Was it Fred?
Fred, yeah, Fred was the singer.
I went out with him as well.
Oh God!
No
Oh God! It looks like Galina's been out with every lead man in Belfast, it would seem.
I think I did. Yeah, I definitely went out with him because we had a fall night at Gyros. That's where we
Gyros,
stopped.
Yeah, Gyros, yeah. I was going to say about Gyros because Gyros was my big sort of first massive drinking session. So we had the Gyros, which is what's turned into the Warzone Centre, I think. I'd never been there in my life. There was a band called MNP, who I freaking loved. Like, they were like my favorite local band called MNP, and they played, and you could bring your own booze, and I copped off with a girl, and I was just like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I'm doing everything. This is so rock and roll, and it just changed my life. I just went from this guy who was in the rugby team who was trying to be something he wasn't to coming out of his proverbial cocoon because of the venue and Gyros, and I was just like, this is what I want to do. So I used to hang around St. Anne's Cathedral with all the skaters and stuff. And get really drunk, and yeah.
It's so weird, right? The Gyros are the only place that had a goth club, right? Goth clubs didn't exist in Northern Ireland. Like, the metal clubs wouldn't play goth, and no goth band would play anywhere because no one would put them on. So Gyros would have a goth night once a quarter maybe, and we'd all get dressed up with wings, and everybody in that room, and I mean everybody bar none, was wearing new rocks, brand new rocks, because that's when they just come out. And and
Malcolm was it Malcolm that was
yes.
he the king of the Goths in Belfast?
Yeah.
Guy Malcolm.
Oh, we don't speak about him. He's not a nice man.
Yeah,
We can't go into him. We can't go into what he did. We shouldn't even mention him. Very naughty man.
Okay.
Yeah. So gyros, and it's interesting for folks who don't know Northern Ireland back then. But the DUP used to protest at the Goth Club in this. What was it? It was kind of like a community center.
Yeah,
there was like a homeless kitchen there.
Yeah, it was a community center. Yeah.
There was a like a small recording studio there, because I recorded my first EP in my college band in Jarrow.
Yeah.
Because Martin, who was the engineer there, was also the engineer for Bangor Tech. And I went to Bangor Tech and did music there, so that's where we recorded our stuff in there. But yeah, the DUP would protest the Goth Club, Goth Night. And it was just a bunch of kids that just couldn't go anywhere else. It seems so mad now when you think about it.
I think we used to practice in gyros. I think because one of my mates' bands used to practice in gyros, and I think we sort of there was a couple of places where we sort of we practiced. We practiced in up Cliftonville, like the
football ground?
No, what was it? Oh God, it's been so long since I've been back. I just, it's like a big old abandoned like warehouse up there, and I remember playing in gyros. I remember sort of practicing in gyros and just being an absolute dump. But yeah, I think we may have recorded like an early demo there at one point in time, possibly. Yeah,
it was £10 an hour for the studio.
Yeah, possibly.
with the engineer, mixed and mastered as well, £10 an hour. The whole thing. My 5-song EP from a college band cost me 50 quid.
Oh God, I love that place. I did. Like, that being said, I did get dragged to the goth night once by my girlfriend at the time, and I hated it. It was horrible. It was just like, because it wasn't for me. I was very much into sort of like my heavier music and stuff, and because it wasn't that, I was just like not getting it. It was just a load of people doing the wavy tree dance, and
it was a lot of that.
the wavy tree dance, and I got dragged to a dance night there once as well by the same girl, and I did not enjoy that at all either. I was very,
very. You know that meme of those goths dancing under the
bridge.
That's exactly what it was like. But there was just like a room full of them, And it's just so weird that was like the only goth club that I could get to go to, and it was being protested. And now I event manage Europe's largest goth club.
Oh, what do you manage?
Antichrist.
Oh,
Club Antichrist, and we have like 2,000 kids turn up on our shows and just take over a venue in Vauxhall in London.
Wow.
And it's just it's packed, and I've worked for them for like 12 years maybe. I worked for Torture Garden. I still work for Torture Garden on and off, but I've been with them like maybe 18 years. So like Antichrist is probably 15, I think.
How long have you been in London? How long have you been in London? I think you said
like 20. Yeah, like 20. I think I've last September I have been in England longer than I was in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I've passed that milestone as well. I'm on 22, nearly 23 years. So I've lived here longer than I lived in Northern Ireland. So
yeah. I'm still not English though. I'm not English.
Well, see, my mum's half English. I did my heritage thing, so I did one of those. Okay. I did one of those history things where you do your DNA and stuff. And apparently, I'm like 55% English. 55% English. I'm only 17% Irish, and apparently 17% Norse. Because my mum's side of the family, they were Normans, so obviously come from the Viking side of things. And then because my grandfather was Maltese, I've got Turkish and Greek and North African and stuff in there as well. So yeah, but it was a very big shock that I was 55% English.
That's what you get.
I was like, does it change your DNA when you've lived here for too long? Do you sort of kind of gradually become English because you've been here and been over here? That's what it is.
We are disease.
we're going to emigrate to Scotland pretty soon. I think we're done with London. London is good when you're young and you're happy to travel an hour to anywhere, and then living in London's great. It's brilliant. But when you can't be bothered to go 5 minutes down the road to the pub because it's too far, and you'll have to think about getting a taxi home, then that's the time to leave.
Yeah, I'm like Manchester's always like, well, I live sort of outside of Manchester now, but it's all very central and stuff. So even when I was in Manchester, like you just walk to the pub and you walk back, and there was no sort of, because it's not massive, like it's not huge like London, but it's not small like Belfast. It's sort of kind of a good in between and stuff. So I've just sort of stuck around because, you know, it gets me, you know, everything's within distance basically. Even now where I live in the outskirts of Manchester, you know, it's like 30-minute drive, you know, or get a train, take me about 20 minutes and stuff. So nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Death and Gloria, back on this record.
Reminiscing.
Did that come out of your managing of Torture Garden and Antichrist, or was it from other influences?
Oh, it's got nothing to do with fetish clubs. Oh, you don't want to bring that into your artwork. No, the nightmares that come out of that. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
The community is amazing. So back when in the era that we're talking about here, back in Northern Ireland, I started my first band called Rizzo, and I have been trying to start.
I remember.
You remember my band?
I remember Rizzo. I remember Rizzo.
Yeah, so that's why you know me, because of that band, right?
Yeah.
So that was my band in college, and it was basically Avril Lavigne before Avril Lavigne came out. It was like Avril Lavigne came out like after our EP had come out, and I'm like, we need to ride this wave, man. Yeah, like we're nowhere close to being good enough. Anyway, so after that, I just did everything to be in a band. So I have a degree in music management, and I went to uni just to get out of Northern Ireland more than anything else. I didn't really care about uni. And then have been spending all this time trying to find band members to play with. And I've been through, I think I'm on to like number 17th drummer and 7 bass players. I forget how many bass players I've had. And I basically
had more drummers than Spinal Tap.
Everybody says that, but I've killed more of them. That's all it is. Yeah.
Drummers are strange fish. We've been going, in theory, if we count including now, like we're not doing very much, but we've been going since 2000, so we've been going like 22 years, and we've had, I want to say 5 drummers. I've had 5 drummers, so not as many as you, but
and Galina's had 17.
Yeah, and I still don't have any permanent ones. So I couldn't find anyone permanently to play. So I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to do the whole thing myself. I'm going to learn all the tech. I'm going to learn. I'll just play the other instruments. I'll just do it. So I needed something to be on stage with me, because I just didn't want to be like, I'm playing my guitar and I'm singing down the mic. Oh, that's it. So I thought I'll have some projections on, because I've been a backline tech. I've been a tech and stage manager and worked in events. So I have a bit of, gumption about me. So I was like, I'll put a projection on stage, but what will I project? Well, live action's really expensive. I'll just do like comics, animated comics. That seems like that'll be a cheap option. It's not. So I thought I'll do some animated comics. So I'll need a story. And then I created Death and Gloria. So the whole concept of Death and Gloria is there is a comic for every album. And that comic is animated into the music videos. And then I project those videos on stage with me, and we act out the comic book as the stage set. So I never have the comic on hand when I do these interviews. I don't know why. It never ever happens. So basically, this is an animation this is an illustration of the first song on the first album, and it has a QR code, as does the comic book on all the pages, or quite a lot of the pages. So if you scan this, which you can't because quality, this will become an animated music video, and then all the pages in the comic book become an animated music video as well. And then I play that out. So I have 2 stage sets essentially, and one is the first album and the second one's the second album. I created them so I can intermix the 2 of them. So if I have an hour-long set, I can just like pick the best out of them, and audio-wise they'll sound they're mixed the same, even though they weren't recorded the same, and there's a couple of years between them.
How do you stay in sync with her? Because we had Level Up Leroy, and he does sort of with his DJ set. He has sort of animated
music backing videos behind him as well.
How do you keep in sync with it all?
So I run Logic. I run a Logic file that runs all the backing track, guitar patch changes, lighting, DMX changes, and the video. So it just, when you press go and it just goes.
Oh, okay.
Basically, that's so simple. I mean, it's so simple.
Nerd.
It's getting a computer that won't crap itself every time you press play. Is the problem.
So how would you kind of control all that? You see, you use the computer. Which one do you use? I mean,
it's a Mac laptop. I mean, I've got one computer, which is actually right beside me here, which is this bad boy, this is my stage computer. So it's just a Mac. It's an old Mac, actually, 2010. Ta-da! There are other computers available. This one doesn't have anything but the show file on it, so it's completely empty. It does not go on the internet. There are no plugins used on the show file. You keep it really, really small, and you don't really have many problems.
Yeah, I think we tried to do some fancy stuff with computers and patches and pedals and things like that once, and it failed miserably. So I think the worst, that got to the point where we had some like samples that we got the sound guy to play before and after and stuff. But yeah, we had some really bad experiences with laptops and stuff like that. So.
We were chatting about a Misfit a few weeks ago, and she was saying like, no, she sends yourself like, no, having a very stripped down approach. Like, no, she just switches between tracks. You've got like essentially a iPod connected up to the speakers, and then she kind of got like a little Bluetooth switcher on her wrist, and just kind of clicks on to the next track when she's ready.
Yeah, I was talking to her today, actually. I was like, look, love, can you tell me what this switcher is? Because I've been flipping looking for it on Amazon for months, and I cannot find it. And then she told me what it was, and I'm like, oh, that girl's a genius.
Yeah, again, to go with that stripped down basics approach.
Well, mine's not. I turn up as if it's like some kind of mini stadium event. I have an entire
go big or go home. It's the Northern Ireland way.
I know, right? That's actually the name of the tour that I'm doing in November. We can talk about that in a minute. So I have like full stage lights. I don't use any in-house lights. My original plan was to send 10 channels of audio to a sound engineer. So the kick was separate. Snare was separate, bass, backing vocals. Yeah. All my stems were separate so that the sound engineer could mix to the room. Problem is, I don't tour with a sound engineer, and 90% of the time the sound is awful and it's not mixed the way it's supposed to be, because most of they don't know how I like it mixed, right? So, and you never have time to tell anyone. So I've just given up now, and I have 3 channels, and I've mixed my backing tracks to the way I want it. So I just tell the sound engineer, so my main vocal should just sit slightly on top of the choir, not really high above it, but slightly on top of the main choir. And then once you've got that right, the rest, the whole set just does itself. Wow. Like, you don't even need to. They have the best time with me because they have no work to do. Literally nothing. Yeah. Just turn it up. So
is it through Sci-Fi Weekend, or how did you know Pete? How did you get sort of involved with us on the podcast?
So I actually, first person I met out of this whole scene-a-rooney was Level Up Leroy, and he is a man, and we have to give big props to Leroy. I'm kind of hoping he is listening, because I love that man. How could you not? The guy's a legend.
Leroy's a fantastic guy. Really, really, really lovely.
Yeah, really nice guy.
So we met at con in Doncaster, I think, in 2019, called Warp Fest. It was a one-off. I don't think the people who organized it will be doing that again. And I provided all the staging. So I brought all the lights and the PA for some reason. And some other bands and whatnot. And that's where I met Leroy. And then he has been super kind to me and hooked me up with loads of contacts, including Sci-Fi Weekender. So over lockdown, Sci-Fi Weekender did a Sci-Fi in the Sky.
Yeah.
So they were new to live streaming, and Leroy sent them to me saying, here, she can tell you how to do everything. So I basically showed them what I was doing and how to use OBS and whatnot. Yeah. But they kind of had it worked out themselves, but Matt just wanted me to sit on the call in case something went wrong, the whole thing. So I was like the consultant in the back, but I also got to play it. And then that's when they let me get onto the show. And I'd been trying to get into Sci-Fi Weekender since 2017 when I launched the band. It was like one of the first things I wanted to get on. and I just couldn't get a contact. Nobody at Chic festivals answered anything, and I think they get inundated with people wanting to play their shows. So I'm not surprised. That's not a dig to them, just some wee band knocking on the door going, "Hey, I want in." But once you get in, you're in, which is amazing. And I'm in. You can never get rid of me.
All roads lead to Sci-Fi Weekender.
I know, and I played 2 of them. Amazing.
Yeah, he did last year in November, and just done this year last month.
Yeah.
No, in March. Sorry, not last month. I've got my timing stuff.
Yeah, and then I'm playing HRH Prague in the Great Yarmouth thing in November.
Nice.
And somebody pulled out of one of their dates a couple of weeks ago, and we played the O2 Sheffield, which was amazing, and it was packed, and it was like, wow, this is great. So we're doing the HRH Prague again with them, and then I hope to be back at Sci-Fi Weekender next year. And I've got some. The thing is, the Sci-Fi Weekender, you really have to think about what you're going to bring to the stage, because it's the audience are the audience. They're the same people quite often, which is great because that's how you build community. But you need to do completely different shows for them, and I've already learned that I need to make specific merch for them because they have everything already. I can't turn up with the same old t-shirts I turn up in every show with. So I'm doing a comic book specifically for November when I do the HRH Prague, and it'll be a small off-album comic book. Well, it'll still have some kind of soundtrack to it, but it'll be a little short one, a little mini one. Yeah. So that's going to come out in November, and I'm releasing a covers single on the 23rd of July. I am going to do a metal version of Bo Burnham's All Eyes on Me.
Okay.
It's
recorded. It is in my sticky little fingers, and I just have to now wait almost 3 months to release the flipping thing. And we're doing a live action video, which is also new for me because I don't do that. I don't like being in videos. I don't actually like my face being on stuff. I'm not one of those chicks that feels like their face has to be all over Instagram. That's just not me. I'd rather do a Maynard from Tool and just sit in the back with a big screen and
have your own wine. He's got his own wine. He's got his own wine, doesn't he?
Do the Eldritch thing.
Yeah.
He does, but he's not a big drinker, so it's odd that I think he just likes making growing grapes.
Yeah, probably.
Sour grapes.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem like a big drinker to me, is what I'm saying.
No,
I don't think he is.
No.
But who knows? But yeah, he has his own wine. Yeah.
Oh, we have a comment which I've completely ignored, but
oh, wow.
Sam Goes Ham says, I've heard of liquor licenses, but never the dance license. That's nuts. I'm assuming he's talking about the venue.
Yeah, the venue.
Yeah, that I didn't know that existed either, but it does, and I think it's got something to do with the PRS license. If you have people dancing, I think that's where it's tied in with.
Maybe, yeah.
It's an extra fee if people dance to music that they're listening to in a restaurant. So a restaurant has music that everyone hears.
Yeah.
But it's background music, whereas discos would have music that you are specifically there to listen to, and I imagine that's where the license probably fell down.
God, it was such a small venue as well. The venue was a small venue. I remember. I'm
trying to understand, why would the DUP protest a goth club?
Because the DUP just. Because that's what they do.
Okay.
That's because you can't. They're the same people who wanted to have one of my friends who works for Stormont as a civil servant.
What do you mean they works in Stormont? Nobody works in
well, yeah, a civil servant who's doing the job for the politicians who aren't working in Stormont. They basically turned around and they had a visitor centre for the Giant's Causeway that basically shows, talks about how the Giant's Causeway was created, not by giants as the tale goes, but by, tectonic plates and, geology and volcanic activity and stuff like that. But then the DUP turned up and went, yeah, you could say that, or you could just say God did it. And have that in the visitor center, because God created it. And I was just like, come on, man. I'm all for people believing what they want, but fucking science is science. And that's just what they do. And it's nuts. It's nuts. It's
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's nuts.
In fact, I had an interview with a fella he called Hugh Turpin, I think his second name is. He works for he's in Brunel. He's a professor at Brunel University, and he's doing a piece, I think, on people coming from Northern Ireland and either just having no belief, and talking about religion. So he's talking about religion and politics, and obviously how I was brought up in Northern Ireland and blah blah blah, and I just ranted about creationism and the DUP and Northern Ireland for about an hour. I don't think he got a word in edgewise. He's just like this, and I'm just yabbering on about them, and it was good for exercising the proverbial demons. But yeah, the DUP, man, there's no reason, no rationale whatsoever. They are just who they are, and it you can't. Yeah,
no. I think where those clubs were, because you had the front page was across the road, and then where the Kremlin, which is now the big gay bar in Belfast, they were all on that road, and I think they just lived around the corner and would just because I'm from Bangor, it's like you would not stay around that area after a club finished. You just get out as fast as possible, and you go into town. You wouldn't go down the other way, because you get beaten up if you went that way. You had to go down the other side of the road. I think they just lived around the corner and thought, oh, this will get my brownie points up.
I remember, right? So this is I'm just going to be just more reminiscing and stuff.
I'm going to get, if my mum sees this, she'll be like, you shouldn't be saying that online. They'll comment to your knees. Oh my God.
I remember we played a gig in the front page, and I remember driving back in my Nissan Micra with a car full of, with every bit of band equipment there was in this small Nissan Micra, and there was passengers as well. We managed to jam everything in, and I remember getting stopped 3 times on the way back. I got stopped by the army twice, and I got stopped by the police, and they're all asking me the same question and stuff, like, where are you going, where's all this stuff coming in from, and stuff like that. And people, you tell people who are not in from Northern Ireland about this sort of thing, and they're just like, what the hell's that craziness? I was like, yeah, that was just what it was, just what it was. But yeah, just what it was. But yeah, it's mad. All the areas. So they had the front page. Obviously, the Kremlin was up the road. You had Gyros, which was across the way. You had St Anne's Cathedral, where everybody sort of kind of went drinking, and all the skaters and stuff were. And then you had the venue, which was just up by the bowling alley. And that was sort of and then you had Kitty Daly's and the Limelight and stuff, and that was sort of kind of your little sort of kind of heavy metal area where you sort of kind of stuck around.
Yeah, that was it. There wasn't much to do. I mean, Bangor was worse, because if you weren't able to go to Woolsey's, which is the only rock bar that would play anything, then you were on a pier with there was 10 of yous all on a pier,
I've been huddled to that
around pier. Huddled around like penguins, freezing your butt off. There was this is a ridiculous story, but when I was really young, there was we're all on this pier, and there must have been 30 to 50 of us. We were between the 13 to 15 years old, and there wasn't anywhere to go, so you just all hung around the pier. And there was these Norwegian trawlers had come in, and they were camped out in the pier for the night. And some idiot had left the fish stock that they'd obviously just caught in trays of ice on the pier. And when we walked down the pier at the beginning of the night, it was fine. And then as we were all walking up the pier again in a different state of mind, shall we say, the boys got into the fish, and there was the biggest fish fight you've ever seen in your life. And there was this girl called Vanessa who was trying to get around the back of the pier to get away from the fish. And she had one of those duffel bags with a string attached. The arm of it's a string. And this fish landed right on the string, and she couldn't let go of her bag, and she wasn't, and she had this fish, and she was running around trying to get rid of this fish, and it was funny. That's Northern Ireland for you. That's kind of fun you have on a Friday night in Northern Ireland.
What was the name the name of the shop? Because there was a shop in which sold all the baggy trousers in
Bangor.
Not in Bangor. It would have been in Belfast. What was it called?
Fresh Garbage was.
There was Fresh Garbage as well, but there was another one.
The skater one on the corner.
The skater one in the corner, and that's where I got all my baggy trousers from. And it's like everybody, and they used to sort of get them from America, but they go and put them in their suitcase, and it was just like there was very limited number and stuff. But I get my biggest, baggiest trousers from I can't remember the name of the place now.
Apache,
that was it. Apache. Yes, that was Apache. I loved that place. Like when I was doing. Sorry.
It was the only place to buy road jeans.
Yeah.
Like, in the 90s, it was very, very important that if you were going to a goth night, you had your new rocks. But if you were going to the venue, you had to have road jeans that covered your feet.
Yes.
And like,
I know if it was wet, it would just sort of start creeping up your leg.
And it was always wet by the time the venue finished, and everyone had spilt their beer all over the floor. And when they played that final song, which was generally Nelly the Elephant by the Toy Dolls.
Oh, yeah, that was a cracking track as well.
Or Barbie Girl, and all the metalers would just be dancing to that. It's the last song of the night. Or I think Spice Girls was a fan favorite as well, by Kenny.
Kenny would play some very random stuff. He'd do like, what song did he play? What's the Iron Maiden song?
Rinse the Hells?
No. 2 minutes to mid.
Oh yeah. Because it went on to like.
Yeah, he'd do, and then he'd say "Happy New Year" every time. It's like, what? It's not even Happy New Year. What's the name of the song? It's not 2. Is it 2 minutes to midnight? 3 minutes. 2 minutes. To midnight?
I don't know what the song's called.
I can't remember the name of it.
I'm not a Maiden fan.
Yeah, but many fond memories. Do you remember there was like they had a big skater festival sort of? I remember.
Yeah, Deftones played it, didn't they?
I think so, yeah. And
somebody quite large played it.
Yeah,
and I thought it was mad.
Yeah, it was like in that big marketplace.
Not St. Anne's.
No, it's sort of up near.
Yeah, Smithfield or whatever it was called. By the train station.
Yeah. I remember going there in my big baggy trousers with my white lightning, and just getting really drunk and going, yeah, I could totally skate. I couldn't skate. I was just like totally into that sort of thing. But yeah.
When the Waterfront Hall first, well, I don't think it was open, but they built it, and they had like a Radio 1 roadshow or something in the car park, and Reef were the headliners.
Yes!
And Rhythm Digital.
Yes!
Rhythm Digital was supporting.
Oh my God, right, yeah. I have some, right, I'll tell you about this, right. So Reef, so they had that big festival, yeah, and they had this thing you weren't allowed to crowd surf. And I was obviously 16, 17, I would have been 16, 17, something like that. Maybe sort of kind of verging on 18. And I just I was super into sort of going to gigs and crowd surfing and getting drunk and just sort of generally crowd surfing and stuff like this. But obviously in Northern Ireland, you couldn't crowd surf, they kick you out. So I crowd surfed and I got kicked out, but I realized that you could go all the way back round again. So I did this 3 times where I go out, I get kicked out, and I come back in. And the last song that I crowd surfed for, and I was obviously pushing my luck, was Reef, and Reef were on, and I crowd surfed, and then they dropped me on my back and I hurt myself, and the bouncers who kicked me out for the 3rd time just looked at me and went, "You deserve that." Oh man, yeah.
It was good. I mean, that was random nonsense. I think I saw Bob Geldof at one of those Radio 1 road shows as well.
Yeah,
back in the day in Bangor.
Yeah. I remember because I'd just come back from a rugby tour with school from Glasgow, I think, or Edinburgh, and or was it both? Right, anyway, we'd done a rugby tour, and I just bought the Burning Red by Machine Head, and I was super into that sort of that album and stuff. And I just remember going to that concert and getting dropped on my back to Reef, because it was the heaviest sort of kind of. It wasn't even heavy music, but it was just it's rock and roll. It's better than nothing, because there wasn't many bands sort of going to Northern Ireland and stuff. So yeah, it was.
What was your first gig then that you saw, proper band?
Oh
and not
God,
just
this is embarrassing. Ocean Colour Scene was my first ever gig.
Where was that?
In the Ulster Hall.
In the Ulster Hall.
Yeah, Ocean Colour Scene, and I didn't even like the music, but it was a gig, and it was a gig in my mind. Well, it's I saw Placebo more times than I can count, simply because it was a gig, and they played all the time. Like, they were always playing. My friends, like, they would all want to go and see Manic Street Preachers, who I hated. But I wasn't there for the music, for that sort of music. I was just there because, hey, there's girls here, and they're drunk, and I'm drunk, and I'm 17, and it's awesome. And that was it. And I sort of like, I remember going to a gig in the Ulster Hall, and we'd all got our booze, and we were like, you can't bring that in with you, and we're like, shit. So we like poured it into these sort of like, no, we put it in this bag and put it around the side of the Ulster Hall, and we went, that's like, you know, we know where it is, nobody else is going to find it. Came out of the gig, it was gone, and we're like, somebody took it. And then we bumped into this.
It wasn't blown up as a suspect device.
Yeah, the thing is, we bumped into this fella at the town hall, City Hall, and this homeless guy, and he was loving life, and he had this big bottle of White Lightning fill and stuff, and we're just like, oh, we just lost all our booze. It's like, oh, I found a load of booze, I found a load of booze around the side of the Ulster Hall, and he basically obviously found it, and it was just like, it poured it all into these like White Lightning things, and was sitting there necking it, and he's like, you want some? It's like, yeah, I fucking want some, it's my booze.
That's what you get.
That's what you get. But it was we let him have it and stuff because it was just amusing. But yeah, there wasn't many gigs. Like, I remember I saw the Deftones. Saw, like, when I was younger, there wasn't as many good gigs. As when I started getting to university, I started going back. More bands started coming and stuff. My sister nearly got to go and see Nirvana when they played, but I think she got grounded and couldn't go.
Oh yeah, so like my brother, I won't go into that, but there was a fella I used to hang out with when I was like 12, 13, who I considered to be my older brother, because he would like he would just look after us and whatever, and he saw Nirvana in Ulster Hall. King's Hall?
Yeah,
King's Hall?
Was that the one where he collapsed or something? He had to get taken to the hospital and stuff when he played in Belfast.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. That whole black and red jumper he used to wear is, I think the urban legend is that he got that from somebody in Northern Ireland. I think that sort of black and red jumper, they always, because I can't remember, it was when he collapsed on stage. Or he liked it from, I can't remember the exact story. I'll have to look it up actually to find out. But it's one of those urban legends. He told, yeah, somebody from Northern Ireland gave that to him. You know.
My dad was a drummer back in the day, and his band supported Jimi Hendrix when he played Mandela Hall on his 21st birthday.
So you got pretty awesome parents. You got a mum.
I know. You just don't think it when you're a kid, do you? You're
so
just like,
dad played with Jimi Hendrix. Mum wrote for 2000 AD. Both of them used to do reenactments and stuff. That's like cool.
Yeah, you just don't think about it when you're a kid, do you? I mean, and now I'm like, yeah, they were cool. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I don't think my parents did anything cool like that. I don't think there's any stories other than that. My dad was an architect, so he designed a load of stuff in Belfast, but apart from that, they didn't sort of do any cool things, like they were in bands or anything like that.
Oh, well, I had obviously all the A1 parenting was happening over in my house, so can't be sharing too much of that around.
Oh man. So what is it you're doing next? What's coming up?
So the biggest thing, there's a lot happening, because I've never been like, I don't think I've got like ADHD or whatever, but I get bored really easy, so I just do everything all at once. And I'm like, you know, if I'm doing like a vocal warm up, I'll be like, I should be lifting weights at the same time, because that maximizes the time, rather, like, you know, and just do all of this all the time, and it's stupid, to be fair. So the big thing I've just launched is my Patreon page, which is death_ingloria, which is the same as all of my socials. And I am doing album number 3 on there.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I put it behind Patreon, mostly because if you don't come in and follow the story, it's like you'll be completely lost in what I'm doing, because I'm literally like showing the writing of this story from the ground up. So like starting with the characters, and then we'll be going over the development of the characters, and there's a podcast where I'm sitting down with other creatives and talking about the process, not the process of making it, but we're literally making it we're having a conversation about making this story, this enormous story. So the first 2 albums and comics are really short. Like one is 7 pages and the other one's like 12 pages long. So they're really kind of short comics. But then this next one's going to be a graphic novel for sure. And I'll probably have written it as a novel to start with, and then we'll make it a graphic novel. So there'll be 2 versions of it.
Nice.
And then what I'm doing is soundtracking that, but it's also going to be far more like a rock opera so for an example, the 2 of the characters are twins, and so when it comes to doing the music for these guys, we'll be looking at while they're on Earth, their acoustic guitars, and they are very harmonious together, and then something happens and their lives, which have been like this their whole time, start to go like this, and one goes off on a tangent from the other, and when they're fighting they become electric guitars, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really thinking about the whole thing as a full piece, which is a soundtrack to a massive comic. That sounds so nerdy, and if you're bored by that,
welcome to Geek Pride. Welcome to Geek Pride.
So that's the Patreon, and it's been open for a week, I think. So what I've done, I've just last week I kind of stacked loads of posts on the Patreon so that we've got an outline of the story, and literally I'm going to be turning on my phone while I'm writing. I'm going to put a phone, just today I've created a frame that I can just carry around with me. When I want to write, I'll just turn on my phone on this frame, and then people can just watch me write, because that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to show the whole process, ask people to get involved as well, because over on our Fans of Death and Glory Facebook page, we write a story most Fridays. So it's like fan fiction, flash fiction Friday, where we just write a story between us, and everyone puts a sentence in or a wee paragraph or whatever. And doing that, we've already created 2 of the characters that will be in this new comic, and one is Galina Rin, who is a talking cat.
Right.
And the other one is called Metamouse, and Metamouse was a normal ship's mouse, and something happened and he got beamed up into the computer, like Ghost in the Shell or Lawnmower Man kind of thing.
I just watched Lawnmower Man the other day. It's fucking crazy.
I have to rewatch it for research.
It's really weird. Like, I haven't seen it for years, and it was on Amazon Prime. I went, holy shit, Lawnmower Man. I remember that being really weird, and I watched it and went, oh my god, that is fucking crazy weird.
That Lawnmower Man is one of the few films where the author, in this case Stephen King, asked for their name to be removed because it had nothing to do with his book or story.
Yeah. Brian Stewart says psyched hard for album 3.
Hey, Brian! Brian is one of our major fans over in California, I think. And so randomly, right? Random dude. I can't even remember where I picked him up from. Oh, yeah. So I do a Canadian internet Twitch show where they have bands from the Geek. Any kind of geek band can play. Anybody doing music and anything that's remotely geek can play on Bonus Stage Van on Twitch. Anyway, so I was playing that, and Brian joined us there. And it turns out I know people that Brian knows.
You just seem to know everybody.
And it's from medieval reenactments randomly.
Like, that is really niche. That is really niche.
Yeah.
But I suppose.
So hi, Brian. So
hi,
Brian's
Brian.
a Twitch subscriber as well as our very first Patreon, which is lovely. Second Patreon. That's a lie.
Oh,
Somebody
Brian,
else's
missing
first.
out, man. Yeah.
Second.
Could have been number 1.
Yeah. So the Patreon's going on. That's going on. I've got a new single coming out. So I got booked, this has never happened before, right? I got booked on an actual music festival. Let me go back on that. Okay, HRH Prague has booked me, and that is an actual music festival. But this is a 3-dayer show in July, which is like camping and out in the fields. And Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple is the headliner on the Friday.
Wow.
And Airborne and Skin Dread are the headliners on the Saturday.
Yeah.
And Glenn Hughes, bit of a did you know, Glenn Hughes is responsible for the KLF going under.
I will make sure he knows that when I play this festival.
If it wasn't for Glenn Hughes, the KLF would still be here. Basically, Glenn Hughes came on for America What Time Is Love by the KLF back in 1992. And he did so well as part of his he just came out of rehab and it's like he was back on the scene and collaborated with KLF. Classic song, fantastic song. And suddenly all these other musicians and singers started approaching the KLF, wanted to collaborate with them. And at that point they realized, oh no, we are now part of the mainstream. And just said, right, okay, we're leaving. So yeah, if it wasn't for Glenn Hughes, we'd still have the KLF.
Oh, damn you, Glenn Hughes.
Why I oughta.
Exactly.
So anyway, we got booked on this music festival, right? So I have to also say that I did play Boomtown at one in 2019, Boomtown Festival, Boomtown Fair, right? But basically, I blagged my way into playing that because it was part of my. They wanted me to production manage a stage, and the money was so bad that I was like, "I'll do it if you let my band play." So I don't really count that as getting onto a festival. But these guys actually chose us out of nothing, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" So we're opening the maiden stage. It's called Made of Stone Festival, which is in Maidstone.
Wow. I love the wordplay. Very smart.
22nd and 23rd of July, and we're opening the Sunday morning. Of course, why not? We're first on Sunday morning, and I'm just like so over the moon that someone has chosen us. I mean, it's never happened before, and I'm like, ah! So we're gonna release a single on the same day as playing this show, just for a laugh, and it's gonna be a metal cover of Bo Burnham's "All Eyes on Me," which I have put a lot of time, energy, and money behind making it sound as professional and great as possible. So this single is basically like a bridge between the production that was on the first two albums and then the production we're going to go into for the third album, which will be a lot higher and it'll just be more competitive with everybody else than what I've been able to do in my bedroom to this point, essentially. So that's on the 23rd of July. And then in November, we're going on tour with a Linkin Park tribute band called Linkin Park, and they spell it L1NKNP4NK. They're very good. And they're doing a whole European tour, and I'm doing their Wales and Ireland leg. So on the 6th of November, we're playing Stoke.
Okay.
On the 7th of November, we're playing somewhere just outside Bangor in Wales, I want to say.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's on the 7th. On the 8th, we're playing Dublin. Right? On the 9th, I'm playing Norwich. I'm playing Norwich. They're not. I'm playing Norwich. On the 10th, I'm playing Belfast with them. And then on the 11th, I'm playing HRH Prague at Great Yarmouth.
Yeah.
And I don't know how all of those things are going to work together, but I've already bought my flights. I've already bought the parking at Stansted Airport.
So all's go then. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. So that tour was originally called Go Hard and Go Home, but I have changed it because not a lot of people would know that I'm from Belfast, so that's from that area, so it's not technically home. So now I'm thinking I'm going to name it like Go Big or Go Extinct or something, like Go Hard or Go Extinct or something like that is probably what the tour is going to be called. So that's in November, so that's very exciting. And then on the first weekend of December, we have our 5th annual fan party. So every year I throw a party that's just for Death and Gloria fans. And every year it's a live stream and it's in person. And basically we just have dinner. We get food and we sit down and we do all whatever needs to be done. And last year I had another band supporting and I had like a full production team and stuff. And this year I'm going to get rid of all that. I'm just going to go back to just me and my stuff because I think you get higher quality actually the less moving parts there are.
Yeah.
It just got silly. I've tried out every year we try something different. And the fans started getting the food in themselves, and then last year the tickets included all the drinks and all the food for the day and stuff.
Wow. Okay.
So you pay one ticket and that's it. So this year I don't think we'll do that because I work for a community library in Crystal Palace and that's the venue we use, and they really need to make the money on the bar. So I think we'll do dinner, and then the bar won't be free this year, but the ticket price will be smaller. But that's what we do.
That's a lot going on.
I know, right? No, right. And I'd have weekly live streams on a Thursday night as well. So there's a lot. It's a lot.
Wow. Okay. I'm literally. When do you sleep?
I do actually sleep a lot. I used to only sleep 4 hours a day. But now that I'm an old lady, I sleep a long time.
Don't say that. We're the same age. I still feel
I'm older.
I feel like, I'm past the sort of, I think I'm stuck in my sort of kind of mid-20s. That's sort of kind of where I'm sort of, my mental,
it doesn't happen. Like, you still think like when you're 50 or 60 and 70.
Well, that's it. When you get into your, where are we? Like almost middle age now. We just resort back to being kids. I mean, I don't have any kids, so all my money goes on band and geekery. Oh, we have 3. Oh, well, yeah, make your own bed there, love, don't you?
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't have kids. I've got a very expensive dog, and that's sort of kind of why. Because when I first came on, Galina's just like, Are you streaming from a store? I'm like, no. And you're not the first person to say that to me. I do it when I'm in work. A load of the clients and stuff's like, are you sitting in your own store or something? I was like, no, I just have zero self-control. Unfortunately, this is what ADHD does to you, and you just buy pretty things for the dopamine, and that's what it is. But yeah.
I buy audio cables or different types of cables, or decide that I need 20 neon rod lights that I need to like wire them in tomorrow and put them on my next stage and all the rest. I think, Pete, you saw my stage show.
I did, yeah. It's a lot of neon. Beautiful. It was beautiful to watch.
So I basically created this monster of a spaghetti cable mess that, like, I'm also a stage manager, and if an artist had turned up with a thing I turned up with on one of my stages, I'd be like, you're not fucking plugging that in anywhere, love. Get it off my stage.
On the programme for the last SFW, there's literally a half-hour gap between you and George Coppin, the comedian that came after you. I'm pretty certain that was just so you can mop up all your cables and set up the takedown.
Well, the takedown doesn't actually take that long. I don't need that. That makes me sound so unprofessional that it would take half an hour to get me off the stage. No, it's fine. It was because the cosplay thing was still on, so I played during the cosplay competition. Essentially, I start half an hour before the cosplay competition, and then no one wants to play during that. So it just, that's why. That's why there's such a massive gap between me and the next guy.
Okay.
So not for my takedown. But also there was a 2-hour gap between the people before me and me playing, which
that was just because everyone's asleep.
Yeah. But I have to say to anyone who's now watching this thinking I'm going to turn up with a spaghetti mess of really dangerous cables, I've just paid a very professional lighting engineer to solder all my cables correctly, and now I've got the wonder ship. It is the Starship Enterprise of strip light pole lights. There's 20 of them. It's amazing. Actually, there's 22 because there's 2 spares. But anywho.
Right, sorry, I'm getting loads of people adding stuff into the chat. I'm just trying to make sure I keep a chat over, because I don't think I've got a chat bot sorted. So carry on, Pete, while I sort this out.
Okay, well, what genre? I mean, you mentioned before, like it was like symphonic rock before. What genre would you call Death and Gloria? Is it symphonic rock, or is it? I mean, I didn't find that.
I don't think I've ever used the term symphonic rock in my life. I think rock opera was probably what I said.
Sorry. Yeah,
but so basically, the only way to describe it is as a rock opera, but actually, it's got nothing to do with operatic music at all. There's no operatic. So, I like to think of it as prog rock pop.
Okay.
But I would like to think of it as metal, but it depends who the audience is. So if it's a metal audience, it's a metal band. If it's a rock audience, it's a rock band. And if it's a prog audience, it's a prog band. So, I have all these, I purposely built all these things into it so that I could change it for the audience. So if it's a Comic-Con, then we push the comics more than anything else. And, If it's rock bands, then we push the rock band. Yeah. But it's hard to know where all of it fits in together and where the actual audience is. Because even though we've got this tour and we've got this festival appearance, I'm only really playing like 3 music venues outside of those shows this year, which is really disappointing. And I had a show booked in like March, I think, and it got cancelled because of poor ticket sales, and that was in an actual music venue. So I think like the small music venues are suffering an awful lot. Well, anything is suffering ticket wise. Like people aren't buying advanced tickets and whatnot, so everyone's suffering. But the Comic Cons have exploded. So my main shows and all my, all the any money I'm making out of this, and you don't really make any money, but there is, my biggest clients this year are Comic Cons. And if it wasn't for the cons, I'd be like looking at this going, is there any point? If I'm only playing like 4 or 5 shows a year, that's not enough, So thankfully, Anime League have kept me well in work. I love those guys. They are so nice. Also like Sci-Fi Weekender and MCM Comic Con London. That's my next one on the 26th, I want to say, of this month. I'm playing MCM London on the Fringe stage at 1:20 in the afternoon, and then that Sunday 28th, I'm playing Otaku Link, which is the first time ever playing Otaku Link. It's number 6. It's in Derby, and that's
where I'm based.
Okay, cool. Well, I expect you at Otaku Link then.
Otaku Link. When is it? Sorry.
28th of May. Sunday. It's a Sunday, and they want 2 sets from me, so it'll be the only time this year that I'll play both albums from start to finish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that'll be the only show I'll do that for, because that's a special, and that's a Japanese and anime based festival, so that's a new one to me, and it's lovely that these guys are now approaching me. So I'm obviously getting to a point where people are saying the band, which is nice, because before it was just me like going, can I have a gig? And I will play the opening of an envelope, but it needs to be the right envelope. That's all I'm saying, right? I'm happy to play for nothing. I'm happy to go thousands of miles to go and play a gig for naff all, as long as it's a good looking envelope. That's all I'm saying.
The presentation's everything.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'd love to get some international cons. I did the World Sci-Fi Convention in 2019 in Dublin, which was lovely. And technically, I played the New Zealand one in 2020, but it was a live stream. So do we count that? I think we do.
Yeah.
So there was one to be in Washington. I don't know if it's this year, but there's one like the next year's in China, and it would be great to go to the World Sci-Fi Convention. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. We love there.
Matt, we have questions, do we not?
Yeah. Well, I'm still amazed at the whole thing. Oh, I moved this off onto. Oh, sorry. I'm pissing around with things, trying to get things work here, but it's. My apologies. Get this off. And get this off. So I'm just sort of amazed by the small worldness of this all and stuff. But to be honest, I just think it's quite funny that when you came on and you spoke to me first, I thought you were taking the piss and putting on a Northern Irish accent, and you went, "No, I'm from Northern Ireland," and I went, "Holy shit!" And then it turned out that we went to the same places and know the same people, and so it's been a good trip round down memory lane. For me.
Do you know Matt Young, by the way? Do you know a fellow he's a graphic designer now?
Vaguely rings a bell. Do you know Dave Foy or John Hughes or
I don't know. Maybe. Don't know. Yeah. Don't remember.
Maybe.
Anyway, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is, and there's some people complaining, where's the geek stuff going on? Well, bar,
It's Northern Irish Geek.
Yeah, what's going on behind you? There's a lot of nerdy stuff going on behind you.
Anyway, yeah.
But what we usually end off the podcast with is sort of like a nerdy pop quiz, but it's like 20 questions. So you think of a franchise that you're into, preferably one that will everybody knows something about. So you know, it could be Star Wars, could be Marvel, could be DC, it could be something like that. You got to think of a character, and then we've got to ask you questions to name that character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
it's not as scary as I thought it was about to be.
No. So we usually do that. You got a minute to do it. So we've got a minute to guess. Again, we'll think of one, and you have to guess as well. And that'll be it. Pete, do you have anything for us?
I do.
Right. Is it going to be super obscure?
Nope. It is in honour of Galina Rin's mum. It's from 2000 AD Judge Dredd.
How's your 2000 AD Judge Dredd knowledge?
Non-existent.
It's all right. My mom only wrote for them, but I don't understand because they're not cool.
Yeah, I didn't read them. I was too young.
Okay.
So yeah, I was going to say my 2000 AD knowledge, Judge Dredd knowledge is minimal. I know some, but not all. So I don't think I'm going to
put a.
Well, the people in the chat can guess, right? I mean, it's open to everyone. Right?
I know, but they have to ask questions. You got a minute to do it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Our like if it's Judge Dredd, right? There's a couple of things. There's a couple of characters I know, right? Are you actually alive?
Okay.
Yes.
One minute. Let me do that. Let me do let me get the timer out, and then we'll do it this way. If you think you're going to be able to guess it, timer. Okay. So we want stopwatch. So you got 60 seconds. Judge Dredd. 60 seconds, go.
Are you actually alive?
Yes.
Male?
No.
Female?
Yes.
Are you Judge Anderson?
No.
Okay, that's my knowledge.
Oh God. Okay. Let's try and think of some other questions. My Judge Dredd knowledge break. Are you psychic of any? Are you?
No, not psychic.
Do you what's the name of the other judge? Female, is she a judge?
Yes.
She is a judge. What's her name? God, does it begin with an L?
No, it does not begin with an L.
Oh God, no. I don't know, man. My Judge Dredd knowledge is absolutely pants. So, yeah.
Judge Hershey.
Hershey.
Yes. Bingo.
Judge Hershey, right on the dot. Right in the dots. Nice one.
Well done, Galina. For someone who does not know Judge Dredd, well done.
Yeah, nice one.
Google is our master. I'm sorry.
Okay. What sort of franchise are you into? Your Star Wars? You into your Marvel? You into your Lord of the Rings or anything? What's your poison? And I'll see if I can think of one.
I thought I was supposed to do one.
You can do if you've got one.
Okay, so I don't want to tell you what my favorite one is because that'll kind of help you guess.
Okay, so what's
Does that make sense?
So what's the franchise? And then we'll go for that. What's the name?
Am I doing mine?
Yeah, if you've got it, we'll do yours. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Aliens.
Oh, okay.
Excellent.
Got pulse rifle up there. Okay, right. Both of us are big Aliens fans, so hopefully this will go well. So Aliens, 60 seconds. Go. Are they Colonial Marine?
Yes.
Are they a male?
Male?
No.
Are they Vasquez?
Yes.
12 seconds.
Oh, geez. So when Aliens was on TV, the first time it was on TV, right? It was in 1989. I think it was on ITV, right? And my parents sat me down to watch it on the TV when I was like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. And every weekend from then until I was too old to get up at weekends, I watched Aliens. All like every morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, get up, put Aliens on because we must have taped it off the TV while we were watching it, as you did back in the day, and just watched it for every day. And then it got to the point that I would just stop watching it after Vasquez died because she was my idol. I wanted to be her. I wanted everything to do with her. It was amazing.
Have you read the book Vasquez, Aliens Vasquez?
Do you know what? You're gonna hate this, but I actually don't read.
It's
like I can read. I'm just not a reader. I've never been very good at reading. I don't know, like if that's a thing.
Audiobooks,
Like,
right? I'm the same.
yeah, audiobooks are the way forward.
Audiobooks are the same.
I can only listen to things. I can't read.
Well,
I don't read.
Well, I'm like I enjoy reading, and I've got a massive library, but I've really got into Audible, and I've got I've got so many books on there. So I do a lot of Warhammer 40k stuff, sort of on the Horus Heresy stuff. But Aliens Vasquez by V Castro, who was on this podcast a couple of months back. That's an audiobook. Now, granted, I'm not a massive fan of the lady who does the audio. I think she's a good actress. She's just not great at doing other voices and stuff, so it's all very similar. But if you just want to hear the story, it's a really good story. It's about the Vasquez family. It starts off about Vasquez, but then sort of kind of moves on through her lineage. Effectively, it's a good story. Nice. But yeah, audiobooks are great because you can just sort of. You can do them whenever, where you're sort of kind of driving, you're walking down the road and stuff like that. And I find like I don't read a lot anymore. I just listen to the audiobooks. Problem with audiobooks is they can be made or broken by the actor who does.
Reader.
Yeah. And we've had sort of Gareth Powell. He was on here. He's got some load of books, and I was like, he was telling me about them, and I was like, I'm totally all over those. And I put the audiobooks on, and the audio was hot. I just didn't get the actor be a bit more PC, Matt. Oh, I've got a beep. Why is that happening? Okay, timer, stop beeping at me. So it just did nothing for me, and therefore it killed the whole sort of kind of momentum of me wanting that. So I decided I'm going to buy the books and just read them, because I know they're going to be good. It's just that the audiobook just doesn't.
The narrator.
Yeah, just did nothing for me. But it's like, there's so many. I've got particular actors and stuff that I really like to have in my audiobooks now, and if they're not there, I'm just like, I'm not listening to that, because it's.
Yeah, when authors do their own ones, sometimes it ruins it. If they're like, I have a couple of music industry ones that I listen to, and they're public speakers, but they're not. They don't know how to start and finish sentences when they're obviously editing, as doing little splices as they go, and they just don't get it. They don't get it.
No. Okay, so I'll do mine. Are there any other? I could do another Aliens one for you if you wanted, but is there anything else?
Red Dwarf's pretty good.
Like Red Dwarf, no, there's not a lot of characters in Red Dwarf, though. That's the thing.
There's loads of characters in Red Dwarf. They're just one-offs.
I know, but the ones, because I think they're quite easy to guess. All the main ones, and I've only watched Red Dwarf. I haven't watched any of the most recent ones.
Neither have I.
It's actually worth watching.
I've seen some of the sort of clips and stuff, but I haven't watched any of the. I've only watched some of the recent
Star
ones.
Star Trek, Next Generation, probably.
Ooh, Next Gen. Okay.
That's my era.
Did you watch Picard, by the way? Did you watch Picard?
I started it. You know what? I started it, but this is actually, you're gonna hate this as well. I have not actually seen Game of Thrones past season 1, right?
Whoa.
And this is exactly the same reason why I have not watched Picard, because I hate getting to the end of a season and not being able to watch what comes next.
Yeah.
So if I can't, I'll just wait until it's done, and then I'll watch the whole thing. Yeah. And I realize Game of Thrones is now finished, but it doesn't appear on Amazon or Netflix, so therefore it doesn't exist to me.
I read the books before, because it was filmed in Northern Ireland, and it was filmed in the village where I'm from. A lot of it was filmed in like the fields and sort of kind of one of the sort of Edwardian estates and stuff. And a lot of my friends were extras in it. But I started reading the books that it came out, so I started watching it. And it was just like, it was torture, because I knew what was happening as it was coming along, and people were just like, oh, I'm glad I really like this guy, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna die and stuff. I'm getting really sort of like, oh, I got it. But yeah, you watch the first sort of 5 seasons are good, and then it goes rapidly downhill from there. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a shame, because it's amazing. The books are amazing. It's annoying that he hasn't finished them, but the series literally takes a nosedive. Pretty, it's not bad at the end, but it's
It's atrocious.
It gets it's just like they've made their money, they've given up caring, and they just spaff a really complicated, like it's a beautiful series. It's it doesn't tie in exactly like the books, but it's still good in its own way until it gets to sort of kind of like season 6, when it's just like it starts to go downhill very quickly, and yeah, it's rather upsetting when that happened and stuff. But so yeah,
I'll be sure not to bother with it then.
yeah, no, it is. It's not. It's not like. It's just because I've read all the books and stuff, and so you've got preconceptions about things, and
I've not read the books, and to me, season 6, 7, 8 were atrocious.
Yeah,
it was just an absolute fallacy of a screenwriting, honestly.
Yeah,
just don't bother really. They completely killed it. I mean, great start, fantastic middle, completely shit end.
Yeah, I think they had a really complex story with a lot of really good characters,
which they tried to simplify into 6 episodes.
Yeah, and they tried to oversimplify it, and they killed it. And there's some of, like, at the end, it's like oh, we need the end their story, we need the end their story, we need the end their story, and they just go chip 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 chip, and you're just like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And the ending is the most disappointing thing. I'll not ruin it for you because you may watch it one day, but it's just, you're just like, what the hell are you doing, man? What the hell's going on? So don't get me started about Game of Thrones, because I'll just rant off about it for a while. Okay, so I'll not do Game of Thrones. I'm trying to think. Could do next. So next generation. Okay, so let me think of a character from next gen. I don't want to do a main character. Oh, okay, I've got one. I'm not sure if we've done this one or not already. We may have, but okay, so next gen, Star Trek, 60 seconds, go.
Are you male?
I am male.
Are you human?
I am human.
Are you Federation?
Ish. I am not Federation.
Okay.
Are you Vulcan?
I am not Vulcan.
And so you are male, is that correct?
I am technically male, yes.
Are you Klingon?
I am not Klingon. I am human.
You said ish.
I know, but you'll understand when you find out.
Okay.
No,
I am, and for all intents and purpose, a male human.
Okay.
Are you in the first episode?
I'm not in the first episode.
Are you in all seasons of
Nope.
the Next Generation?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. You got one more question. You got one more question each, and then you can guess. That's it.
It's like the more you think about it, the more it goes away.
Okay, I'll give you.
Are you related to the bridge crew?
Right. I have no direct relation to. This person is in. He's in one episode of Picard, and he's in 2 episodes. I think it's 2 episodes of Next Gen, but he's a character you'll know. He's a big.
Oh. Were you in the first Star Trek?
No. Okay, I'll try and throw out some more. I'll try and throw out some more.
We're so bad at this.
Okay, if I was to say, I think you're probably going to get this now. If I say this, holodeck.
Oh, you are Moriarty.
I am Moriarty. Yes. That's why I said.
And we just spoiled it. We'll just spoiled it for Galina, didn't we?
Yeah, it was. I was just saying more. I was just going to say that's why he's human-ish, because he's not really human. He's a hologram, and he's not really
human at all.
Yeah, he's like he's a hologram. Though does he have sentience? You don't know. It's like and I think he's only in 2 episodes, because he's in 1 episode, and then the second one, I think it's where he takes over the ship, isn't it? And then they stick him in that cube, the hollow cube, so he can go off with his girlfriend forever, exploring the stars. But yeah. So Moriarty, and there you go. Okay.
And now you've ruined Picard. There's no point.
No, it's a very sort of brief. It's a very very brief cameo, but it's sort of like one of those cool sort of like it ties in. Picard has got a lot of flack, but I really enjoyed it. Pete didn't appreciate the last episode, I don't think, or the last season, but I quite enjoyed it. I thought,
yeah, I started watching it, but I was just a bit sad that he was so old.
Yeah, but I
just don't want to remember him that way.
Yeah, I think it's quite good. I kind of like him. I like that sort of. It's like him when he plays Professor X in Logan, where he's like old and he's just sort of kind of. I kind of like that. He's got that bit of vulnerability about him as well, which is good. So yeah, I was just good to see all the old crew back and stuff, and I just thought it was a good. I kind of preferred it over Discovery. I wasn't a massive Discovery. I didn't mind, but I kind of preferred it over Discovery. And I'm kind of glad they only did 3 seasons, and that was it and stuff. They didn't sort of kind of milk it too much. So yeah.
Did you guys watch The Expanse?
Oh,
yes,
we love The Expanse.
Yeah, absolutely amazing series.
Yeah. Last season, a bit rushed, but still a beautiful thing. Yeah,
I really loved it, but I did think they had a shut-in season, which I did not appreciate the first time round when they're on the planet. That's just all said about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't appreciate it the first time round, but because I'm busy, my new album story is not that dissimilar to The Expanse. It's I'm having a class war in space essentially, so I had to watch The Expanse several times just to make sure I was not stealing from them straight out, because it's really quite similar. But so when I watched it, maybe the third time, that shut-in season makes far more sense to me when you're thinking about backstory and actual story creation, which is nice.
Yeah, it's potentially some of the best sci-fi that has come out, and
in recent years. Yeah.
And I kick myself because I only got into it at the start of lockdown, I think, and only because Pete and we're kind of going, you got to watch this, it's the best thing in sci-fi, and I didn't want to believe them because it was on the it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. I was like, it's gonna be like Sharknado. It's gonna be cheesy. It's gonna be and Pete likes Babylon 5 and stuff like that. So he's really
Babylon 5 too. Yeah. I was a big when I was a kid, I loved Babylon 5 far more than Star Trek, just because I could never believe that humans would be so nice to each other. I'm like, of course they're gonna be growing flipping coffee and other drugs in the thing, and they're gonna be paying rent under their whatever's. So yeah, Babylon 5 is a big one.
Combat readiness.
Yeah.
There's an anime coming apparently.
Yeah, in a few days' time.
Yeah.
And Bruce by Gina Straczynski, and has got some of the original cast involved as well.
Oh really?
Nice.
So
I hope they got better at acting. That's all I'm saying.
Well, see, that's it. It just didn't do a lot for me, and because it was on it was on Sci-Fi, and I was just like, it's gonna be pants. And then it moved to it was on Amazon Prime. They'd been banging on about it for so long. They talked because it was originally an RPG, paper and pen RPG, and then obviously they made it into the series. As their books and then the series. Actually, was it books then the RPG, or was it the RPG first then the books?
No.
Sorry, what are we talking about? Babylon 5 or The Expanse?
The Expanse.
Okay.
Expanse.
Yeah, originally it was a series of books.
Yeah. So books, then RPG, and then obviously did the series. And I was like, fine, it's on Amazon Prime. I've got it. I'll give it a whirl. And I was absolutely hooked. And I literally hammered the first 5 seasons when it was on, within the space of a couple of days. And I just hammered through them. I was like, that is the best sci-fi I have seen in years. Absolutely amazing. Loved it. And yeah. And the last season was, as much as it could have had a little bit more, and they did rush it over. I don't think they explained it well enough over 6 episodes, but they did it justice enough not to leave a bad taste in my mouth at the end of it and stuff. So it was, all in all, just amazing. Just for it's the small things. It's the fact that because of inertia, the ships reverse towards planets, stuff silly things like that. I love, the fact that that completely confused me. I didn't even think about that.
at all. And I asked my husband, I'm like, why the ship's going backwards? And he was like, well, this is how gravity works. Blah, blah, blah. And I was
keeps
like,
on
oh,
going.
well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and you see, like, because obviously you see all these space, and they're always going head in. So the thing is, if you go and you're going to keep on going because of inertia, so they have to basically use their thrusters to sort of kind of slow them down, and that's why they're backing up towards planets and stuff. And I was like, that's amazing. The science and stuff, the fact that they use real guns and they use sort of like believable science behind it all and stuff. And it's just like, yeah. It's good, great sci-fi. Great sci-fi.
Yeah, so I think like Amazon saved it.
Yeah.
So it got cancelled, and then Amazon picked it back up.
Yeah.
But we're not done, are we? We're not done.
Yes.
That's it done as a series. There is persistent rumours that the other books that never got made into the TV series could be made into feature films, but that is currently purely rumour and conjecture, and nothing concrete has been confirmed.
Well, I must have missed the last series then, because the thing I watched was not the end. I'm pretty sure.
Did you get the sixth season? There's only 6 episodes. There's 6 episodes on.
Oh yeah, maybe I don't think I've seen the 6th then. This has been the best show ever.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's slightly.
It's definitely not over when I watched the last one. So yeah, I think it's because I've been off Amazon Prime for a long time. I've just been like living out. Do you know why I've been living in Netflix? It's because I'm doing Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul I've just finished recently. So good. Good. Yeah.
Because that is a major reference to like a reference art piece for my third story, because like every shot in that is amazing. So I want every illustration, every panel of my comic book cannot be thrown away. It has to be like Better Call Saul. Like everything has to just be the best frame that you could possibly think of doing. And you have to bathe yourself in those references when you're creating stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm going into X-Files next. As soon as I'm done with all his X-Files, I'll be going into.
I've not seen the X-Files in a very long time. No,
it's just because it's Vince Gilligan. And I'm only going to watch his episodes, so I'm basically deep diving into everything he's done. So all the X-Files episodes that he ran and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, it's been a blast. It's been absolutely amazing to have a walk down memory lane with you. I've no doubt we can have a carry on with further conversations about the venue, the Dirty V, and Northern Ireland Life # Northern Ireland Life. But it's been a pleasure. Is there any websites, any socials that people need to check out?
Yes, if you just go to deathandgloria.com, that'll get you everywhere except for the Patreon page, which is brand new. It's not even on the website yet. So if you're a Patrovian by nature, which some people are, so go over to patreon.com /death_and_gloria, and I'm death_and_gloria on pretty much everything, including Twitch and whatnot. And I live stream on a Thursday night about 8:30 on Twitch and Facebook.
Nice. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure for me tonight. It's been
lovely.
For tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Peter Ellison.
Good night, everyone.
And our very Northern Irish guest, Galina Rin.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.